11 seconds after Lieutenant Commander David Reyes transmitted the word Russian, his Fa-18 Super Hornet disintegrated over the Strait of Hormuz. Not from the Iranian missile his radar had been tracking, that one he evaded. The kill came from a second missile, an R-37M, Mach 6 terminal velocity, fired from a direction his sensors never showed him, because the aircraft that launched it was not supposed to be there. Russia's most advanced stealth fighter, the Su-57, operating in Iranian airspace, radio silent, invisible to standard radar, hidden behind an ally's air force, while that ally's jet flew the distraction. Reyes had 4 seconds between the missile lock warning and impact. He used 3 of them to transmit. Lincoln, Razor 1, second lock, not Iranian, Russian profile. Repeat, Russian. Then static. 14 minutes later, Iranian state television ran the footage as a victory announcement. An Iranian missile, an American aggressor aircraft destroyed, open and shut. Except the chairman of the Joint Chiefs walked into the Situation Room, closed the door, looked at the president, and said 5 words. "It wasn't just Iran, sir." What followed in the next 53 minutes rewrote the rules of what Russia believed it could do from behind a proxy, and what the United States would do when it found out. 96 hours before that morning, inside a secure facility at the Russian Defense Ministry in Moscow, Defense Minister Sergei Vulov sat across from Iranian Revolutionary Guard Air Force Commander General Amir Ahidi at the most sensitive military coordination meeting between Moscow and Tehran in 2 decades. The logic Vulov presented to the combined planning staff was constructed around a single concept: plausible deniability. Russia commits 8 Su-57 stealth fighters. Iran commits 12 F-14 Tomcats. The Iranian jets make the visible attack. The Russian jets fire the kill shot from beyond visual range, where no Iranian radar can track them and no American pilot can confirm what just locked onto him. American casualties happen. Iran takes credit publicly. Russia denies involvement officially. The Americans cannot start a war with Iran over a single pilot. They cannot start a war with Russia without proof. Limited response, limited consequences. Russia gains leverage. Iran gains prestige. America loses a pilot and the credibility that comes with being unable to respond to what it cannot confirm. Vahidi raised the obvious objection. American intelligence will eventually confirm Russian involvement. Vulov smiled. By then, too late. What Vulov did not know, and what his intelligence apparatus had failed to detect, was that the U.S. Space Force's Block 5C satellite constellation had been tracking Russian Su-57 movements for 72 hours before the engagement. The Block 5C generation uses infrared signature detection capable of identifying stealth aircraft from low Earth orbit through engine heat patterns, thermal signatures that ground-based radar cannot see, but that a satellite looking down from above the atmosphere can read clearly. The Su-57s were stealthy against radar. They were not stealthy against space. Russia and Iran were being watched from orbit the entire time. Neither of them knew. Captain Sarah Mitchell, commanding the USS Abraham Lincoln, had received the intelligence briefing 72 hours before the engagement. Pentagon notification, possible Russian-Iranian air coordination, maintain heightened readiness all carrier air operations. She had briefed her air wing accordingly. Before Reyes launched that morning, she had told him directly, "Hormuz patrol today is not routine. We have intelligence suggesting Russian involvement."
Trust nothing. Verify everything. If something happens, transmit before anything else. Reyes had understood. When the second missile lock arrived from a bearing his radar could not explain, the first thing he did was transmit. The word Russian reached the Lincoln's Combat Information Center before the R-37M reached his aircraft. Mitchell transmitted to Pacific Command on code word Aurora within seconds of Reyes going silent. Pacific Command had the Joint Chiefs Chairman within 90 seconds. General Robert Walsh, Mitchell's colleague from Naval War College, received her encrypted call directly. Robert, Reyes transmitted Russian profile before impact. R-37M signature confirmed. Iranian aircraft fired the visible decoy. Russian Su-57 fired the kill from beyond visual range. Russia is in the air over Hormuz right now. Officially they are not. Unofficially they are. Walsh moved to the Situation Room. The president received the brief 14 minutes after Reyes was shot down. He asked how long the chairman had known. 6 minutes, sir. The president authorized everything immediately. At 11:21 a.m., Captain Mitchell had advantages Moscow had not calculated. The first was Pentagon authorization, weapons-free, unrestricted engagement. The second was Space Force satellite tracking providing real-time Su-57 positions. The aircraft were stealthy against radar. They were not stealthy against the orbital sensor constellation that had been watching them for 3 days. The Lincoln's Combat Information Center had the Russian aircraft's positions on its screens before a single American jet was airborne. The third advantage was the air wing itself: 48 FA-18 Super Hornets, 12 F-35C Lightning IIs, 6 EA-18 Growlers, 4 E-2D Hawkeyes. The fourth was the USS Carl Vinson Strike Group 800 miles east, already ordered to close the distance with its aircraft inbound in 12 minutes. 8 Russian Su-57s and 12 Iranian F-14s were turning toward the Lincoln, 3,000 miles from the American mainland, 5,400 sailors aboard, 3 minutes to engagement range. Mitchell transmitted her Air Wing commander, Captain Veronica Rodriguez, who had spent 8 years at Naval Aviation Fighter Weapons School studying Su-57 vulnerabilities and rehearsing engagement tactics against Russian fourth-generation aircraft. Rodriguez had never fought an Su-57, no American pilot had, but she had trained for it longer than any other officer in the fleet. Rodriguez: Russian Su-57s in our airspace, 8 stealth fighters, 12 Iranian F-14s, F-35s versus Su-57s, stealth versus stealth. Save your AMRAAM inventory for the Russians. They are harder targets. FA-18 sweep the F-14s first. Concentrate everything on the Su-57s. Engage. The 12 F-35Cs climbed to 45,000 feet in full stealth profile and fired 24 AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles simultaneously, 2 per Su-57 target. Active radar homing 40-mile range, tracking the Russian aircraft from above using the Space Force position data feeding into their targeting systems. The Su-57 pilots had never been engaged by F-35 stealth fighters. Their aircraft was designed to defeat fourth-generation American fighters, aircraft with conventional radar cross-sections that the Su-57's own sensors could track and engage. Against an F-35 attacking from above with satellite Q targeting data, their radar warning receivers detected AMRAAM seeker activation 30 seconds before impact. 30 seconds to identify, classify, and successfully evade a Mach 4 missile from an aircraft they could not see. It was not enough. Su-57 number 1. Direct hit, engine compartment, the pilot ejecting through fire. Su-57 number 2. Wing destroyed, uncontrolled spin. Su-57 number 3. Fuel tank ignition, disintegration in midair. Su-57 number 4. Direct hit to the cockpit. The pilot did not eject.
4 Russian Su-57s destroyed in the first salvo. Su-57 number 5 fired back. Major Alexander Petrov, Russia's most experienced Su-57 pilot, the man who had more hours in the aircraft than any other officer in the program, briefly caught an F-35 trail signature during a banking maneuver and launched an R-37M at it. Lieutenant Marcus Cooper, 28 years old, Salt Lake City, newly engaged to be married, saw the missile warning on his radar warning receiver. R-37M, Mach 6 terminal velocity. 4 seconds from that range. He used 3 of them the same way Reyes had. Razor flight. Cooper. R-37M inbound. Cannot evade. Impact. Cooper's F-35 was destroyed. He was killed instantly. Below, the FA-18s were engaging the Iranian F-14 Tomcats, aircraft the U.S. Air Force had originally sold to Iran before the 1979 revolution, now 4 decades old, but still carrying AIM-54 Phoenix long-range missiles with active radar homing. 4 F-14s fired Phoenix missiles at the American Super Hornet flight. 3 FA-18s were hit simultaneously. Lieutenant David Kim, 26, Seattle, on his first combat deployment, killed instantly. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Martinez, 31, Phoenix, mother of 1, ejected and was recovered, survived. Lieutenant Junior Grade Robert Thompson, 24, Atlanta, killed instantly. Then the 40 remaining FA-18s closed on the Iranian F-14 formation with a weight of firepower that the Iranian jets had no answer for. All 12 Iranian F-14s were destroyed within 4 minutes. The Iranian aerial threat was over. The 4 surviving Su-57s attempted retreat toward Russian airspace. Rodriguez transmitted Razor flight immediately. Pursue all Su-57s. They killed Reyes, they killed Cooper. None escape. 2 more were destroyed by AMRAAM long-range engagement during the retreat. 2 reached the Russian airspace boundary before the F-35s had to break off per rules of engagement. Both pilots had ejected into international waters during the engagement and were recovered by U.S. Navy helicopters, Major Petrov among them, now in American custody. Not a claim. Evidence. Then 3 additional Su-57 reinforcements arrived from a secondary Russian forward airbase and fired an R-37M salvo directly at the Lincoln's hull. 5 missiles incoming. The Lincoln's Aegis combat system launched SM-2 interceptors. 4 intercepted. 1 got through. The final R-37M struck the Lincoln's flight deck, port side aft. Moderate structural damage. 3 more American sailors killed at their stations. Petty Officer First Class Maria Santos, 23, San Diego. Petty Officer Second Class James Park, 25, Phoenix. Petty Officer Diana Hayes, 26, Tampa. 7 Americans dead total. The Lincoln strike group was intact. 53 minutes after Reyes transmitted the word Russian, 13 Iranian and Russian bases supporting the coordinated operation were struck simultaneously. Lincoln's air wing combined with Carl Vincent's aircraft, plus 8 B-2 Spirit bombers already airborne from Andersen Air Force Base in Guam. Bandar Abbas Air Force Base destroyed. The Iranian F-14 Squadron Base destroyed. IRGC Air Force Headquarters destroyed. The Russian Su-57 Forward Staging Facility in Syria destroyed. The Russian-Iranian Joint Coordination Communications Hub destroyed. General Vahidi's command bunker in Tehran destroyed. The R-37M missile storage facility supplying the Su-57s destroyed. All 13 bases, across 2 countries, within the same 60-second window.
2 Russian Su-57 pilots in American custody. Satellite intercept data showing Russian aircraft in Iranian airspace before, during, and after the engagement. R-37M telemetry confirmed in Reyes's final transmission. The deception Volov had built around plausible deniability collapsed inside an hour because an American pilot had 4 seconds and spent 3 of them on the radio. Russia's calculation had been precise. The Americans cannot prove Russian involvement without a confession. What Volov had not accounted for was a generation of satellite technology capable of tracking stealth aircraft from orbit, a pilot trained to identify missile signatures well enough to classify them in the last seconds of his life, and a carrier captain who had been briefed on the threat before it materialized and built her response around the assumption that it would. The Su-57 program had been marketed inside Russia as the aircraft that ended American air superiority. 6 of them were destroyed in 12 minutes by an aircraft that Russia's radar architecture could not track, using targeting data from a satellite system Russia did not know existed. Here is the question that sits at the center of every Russian air defense planning session after this engagement. The Su-57 stealth profile was designed against 4th-generation radar, the SPY-1, the APG-65, systems that hunt by emitting radar pulses and reading returns. It was never designed to defeat infrared orbital surveillance looking down from above the atmosphere. That is a different physics problem entirely, and solving it requires shielding engine heat signatures that currently have no practical solution at combat speeds. Moscow knows this now. The question is what they build next: an aircraft with better stealth, or a doctrine that keeps the aircraft out of range of the sensors that defeated it. The 2 pilots in American custody know which one Russia was planning, and they are talking. Drop your read on it below, and stay close, because the next briefing goes inside the operation that closed a strait, broke a doctrine, and answered a question about autonomous weapons that nobody wanted answered publicly.